Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thankful to have you here with me today. My name is Venus Green, and tonight we're going to be diving into the astrology of the new moon in Gemini. This happens on the 26th of May at 6 degrees. So for those of us, I'm Eastern time. This will be late in the evening. Now, this is a mentally stimulating and fast-paced lunation, right? But beneath the surface here, there's going to be a call to go deeper, to get clearer, and to plant some new seeds for the way that you think, you speak, and how you process your reality. Now, new moons are for beginnings. And when we have one in Gemini, we're talking about our mental habits, our communication patterns. It's the patterns and habits of how we write and speak and how we, do marketing for our ourselves and our businesses. It's also the stories that we tell ourselves and that we tell others about ourselves. So around this new moon, we are all going to be thinking about some high-level topics, if you will. One is around our thought processes and the thoughts that are often in our head. So it's the mental tape that we play, right? Are those thoughts that are working for you, or do they sort of take over, your focus and your attention and cause distraction in a maybe harmful way? And harmful doesn't have to necessarily be physically harmful, but maybe it's distracting in terms of keeping you from doing the things that you need to get done, something like that. So pay attention to your mental thoughts. To the mental process that you have around your thoughts. How often are you thinking those things that might seem negative, right? Because we would really want to understand the inner voice that we have so that we can understand, is that voice helping us to build the future that we want, a positive future, or is it an inner voice that's helping to keep us stuck in some old patterns or in some sort of old script? Now, just before this new moon, Saturn is going to be moving into Aries. That happens on the 25th of May. So this is kicking off a new cycle. It's a long-term cycle of personal responsibility, sovereignty, and courageous leadership. So for all of us who have been feeling like, I'm really ready to initiate something here. I really want to take the time to restructure this thing or this area of my life. That's Saturn really kind of pushing you toward shifting or getting that shift sort of set up, right? He's setting the tone for what it is that you are committing to right now, what it is that you're building toward in the future. Now, then, the Sabian symbol for this new moon at 6 degrees, 5 minutes of Gemini is an old-fashioned well, and that is the symbol for 7 degrees of Gemini. This is really a reminder to all of us that beneath all the noise that we're constantly infiltrated by, all the updates, all the text, all the scrolling, all of the images, the constant images, there is some wisdom that actually comes from stillness, silence, and inner depth and being in touch with that, right? This is not about trying to find something clever to say, right? We are really trying to draw from that inner well of wisdom that we have, right? The truth that lives under the cleverness. You're not trying to impress anybody. We're here to make connections. So let's break the new moon chart down based on the movement that we're going to see around this day and just after. So the sun and the moon are going to meet at 6 degrees of Gemini. This will kick off a new cycle around how you think, how you speak, and how you share. Now, Mercury is the ruler of this moon and is also in Gemini, so at 2 degrees around the time of the moon. So he's heading toward, though, this cazimi, which is going into the heart of the sun. So that's basically a conjunction, right? When a planet meets up with the sun, it's called a cazimi. It's called going into the heart of the sun. That happens on May 29th at 8 degrees of Gemini. So that's sort of what Mercury is heading into. And that means that clarity is coming to all of us, right? It's not here yet. It's getting close. But it also can have the tendency to make us feel a little bit scattered, right? Mentally overloaded, especially right now. So if that's happening around this time, I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't worry, I would do my best to try to take a pause for rest or breath, count to 10, right? Because you will have some clarity very soon, right? And then, of course, the other thing we want to talk about is that we have this anchor over to Pluto, right? Both the moon and Mercury are forming this trine to Pluto, which is retrograde in Aquarius at 3 degrees right now. So Pluto trine the new moon is kind of acting like this grounding cord in the sky that's full of, really quick thoughts and bright ideas, right? With all of this energy that we have over here in Gemini. It brings depth, focus, and emotional honesty. And this is why the intentions that you set now can actually really stick, right? Because they're coming from your truth, not just some sort of performance that you are required to put on, some sort of show that you're required, some sort of agreement that you're required to sign up for, right? It's the difference between saying something clever and speaking something that actually changes your life. Now, just a day or so before the moon, Jupiter was actually squared the nodes, so squaring the nodes of fate. And I think that happened at 25 degrees. So he's still technically in square to the nodes at the time of the moon, but that sort of peaked just before. And so we've got a little bit of a twist here, right? Because we have the nodes, North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo, squaring off with Jupiter, which is in Gemini. So this is kind of like a crossroads moment. Jupiter really wants expansion and truth and meaning. But when it's in Gemini, that can often look like information overload, analysis paralysis, or contradiction even. So it wouldn't be... if you're feeling like you are being pulled between two options, two opinions, two inner voices, right, that are saying something different, but neither of them really seems to be completely right. That's kind of the energy of this T-square here. So the nodes are really saying it's important to let go of needing certainty, right? Don't let go of your right to choose, right? But don't require everything be worked out in a plan in order for you to choose, right? Don't have that be the cause that stops you from choosing. Also say yes to what inspires you, right? Not just that thing that makes sense on paper because it looks good and, A plus B is supposed to equal C, right? What inspires you? What do you desire? And then, of course, stop waiting for more data because you probably already know, right? You just do. And that's sort of a Jupiter Gemini. We have a supportive aspect in this chart, which is a trine between Venus in Aries and Mars, which is in Leo. And this is like big passion energy. It's bold, expressive, and clear. And it adds fuel to your desire to create and connect or pursue something or possibly someone that really lights you up. Now, in the middle of this really mentally noisy lunation, this trine really says to us, don't overthink it, right? If it feels alive, it's probably the right direction. And so go where your fire is. And if you've been waiting for some kind of a green light in order to publish something, maybe start dating again or go on a date, to flirt with someone, pitch an idea, right? Express your desire in some way. This is that light for you. Well, some ways that this energy might show up in your life is that one, you start a conversation with someone that shifts a relationship. So maybe you finally say that thing that you've been holding back. Maybe then somebody or someone reveals a truth to you that reshapes your view of them in some way. This could also look like a sibling or a neighbor, someone that's in your immediate circle that stirs up some necessary dialogue. Right? They're not trying to cause drama, but it's a way to reflect back something that you needed to hear in some way. You could also catch yourself biting your tongue out of habit, and And then you kind of realize that you've been silencing your real opinions as a way to keep the peace, even when it's costing you your clarity or your connection in some way. You might also finally press go on something that's been sort of in the background for you, right? Some kind of a newsletter or writing project, a podcast, a course launch, something like that. There's a response that tells you that you're really more than ready than you thought, and you're going to go ahead with that, right? Now we've got this Pluto trine to Mercury and the moon, and this is a really powerful time to kind of cut some mental cords that really keep looping you back into any kind of indecision. So if that's a place where you find yourself, know that you can rewrite the story, right? Not just this story that you tell to others, but the one that you've been whispering to yourself. We talked about inner voice, and that's exactly what I'm speaking about here. That old voice that said, you're not ready, you need more, you need to be more polished, you need more education. That's not your voice anymore, right? This new moon is going to help you find the new voice. It's going to help you let that old one go and help you find your new voice. Now, some best days for action or ritual, if that is something that you partake in. On the 26th, this is the actual night of the new moon. This is when you're going to want to plant your seeds. So however you traditionally do that, this is the time when you want to do that. Remember, you want to do that. I'm Eastern time. So what we're looking at here on the chart is that it's 11:02 p.m. Eastern time. So it'll be late in the evening, but you want to wait until that moment or after to write down your new moon wishes or your seeds. On the 27th, 28th, and you're going to want to allow some time for just letting the dust settle, right? But you're going to want to listen for any kind of inner signals that you're getting related to those seeds that you were planting. And then on the 29th, we're going to have that Mercury cazimi, right? So this could be a breakthrough day of some kind. Could be a fog that lifts for us. Would be a good day to journal or script or to align in some way. If you are looking for a ritual idea, this would be a good new moon to try some sort of scripting practice. Write out your reality as if it's already happening, and that's what that means. It's not just about what you want to have, but who you already have become, right? It's about focusing your inner voice, your message, your mind, and your magic all into one thing. So I would very much encourage you to write your story with a pencil and a piece of paper or a few pieces of paper, and be really vivid with it, right? It's important mostly to connect with how those things feel, right? When you look your best, when you feel your best, when you're driving that new car, when you're in that new house, when you are, making dinner in the kitchen, whatever those dreams you have for your new beginning, whatever seeds you are planting, you're going to want to be truly in touch with that and try that with this scripting practice. And then, of course, we just want to talk about who this new moon is going to speak the loudest to. So those of you who have planets or angles between 4 and 8 degrees of Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Pisces. If you have Gemini and Virgo rising, especially if you've been feeling a little bit mentally scrambled, you probably are going to feel this moon a little more loudly. Anyone who has strong air placements probably will as well, right? And those who are carrying a lot of fixed sign energy. So if you have Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, you might feel really challenged by the pace here, right? But this moon wants to help you to pivot in some way. Well, what I want you to leave here with is that this is a thinking moon, right? It's a new moon in Gemini. But it's not a moon that wants you to get stuck in your head, right? It wants you to name what's true to you and start living like you believe that thing, right? Get your thoughts in order. Rewrite the story of what your future is going to be. Start feeling that and believing that right now. Tell yourself that every morning when you wake up. Use all the positive affirmation mantras, yoga, meditation practices that you know to get in line with that story, because that's what you're working on. We're not trying to have all the answers right now. We're trying to get in line with being in connection with the feeling of that, right? You can speak your truth out loud, because that's what this is about. It's about being in touch with your voice, and you're going to be amazed at how quickly things are going to start moving for you. Now, coming up next, we're going to dive into the rising sign horoscopes to see exactly where this new moon is going to show up for you and how it's going to work with your chart. All right, first up we have Aries rising. This is new moon in Gemini on May 26, 2025 at 6 degrees. For you, Aries, you're going to be rewriting your reality one word at a time this month. Now, this new moon is going to land in your third house, so it's lighting up the sector of your life that rules communication, thought patterns, writing, siblings, and your immediate environment. So with so much Gemini energy going on here, including Mercury in your third house, or Mercury, your third house ruler, and Jupiter, your mind, it's probably like racing, right? It's got ideas, questions, insights. It's even got some probably mental overload happening. But try not to confuse that buzz for confusion, right? This lunation is trying to help you clear a path. You're being invited to change the way that you think and speak and listen. And when that shifts, then everything else is going to follow. Now, what's powerful here is that this new moon, Mercury and Pluto are all working in harmony. And that means that you have a chance here to actually reprogram the way that your mind works. Now, the thoughts that you've been running through on autopilot, that inner dialogue, the monologue, the talks that you have with yourself about taking the next steps or talking you out of taking next steps maybe, this is going to be the beginning of a new chapter for you, where you don't just think differently, but you also believe differently. So around this time, you're probably going to feel this playing out like maybe a conversation that might shift your view of someone very close to you. You might have an opportunity to speak up in some way, right? Not because you're trying to be right, because you want to be real and honest and share truth. You could also be realizing that your tone or maybe your timing or possibly fears about being misunderstood that you've probably been keeping quiet are now trying to come up and have a voice, right? It wants to lead in some way. Now, if you have been holding on to some sort of a writing project or a message that you wanted to share, maybe you have a podcast idea or something like that, it could also just be a difficult conversation that you have been wanting to have. Then this Mercury cazimi that we have on the 29th could be your moment. That's going to be the green light for a breakthrough in some way. It's going to be that aha moment of how you want to say it, if you will, right? That'll be the moment when you have that snap together for you. This new moon is also going to bring some attention to your siblings or your close relatives, especially if there's something that has been left unsaid. Those things are now going to be surfacing. It could be a reconnection, resolution, some sort of shift in dynamics is possible within those relationships. But it's going to start with how you frame the conversation that you're having with one or more of these relationships. Now we've got Jupiter at 26 degrees of Gemini making a square to the nodes. So there's some pressure around belief for you. You might feel caught between over-explaining yourself with that Virgo South node and wanting to really let it flow, right? Intuitively. And that's the Pisces North node, right? That's the lesson here. You don't need to really justify your truth in any way. You just need to trust it enough to say it out loud, right? Because that is you believing in it. Now, this moon could also bring a shift in your daily routines or with your transportation in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you are thinking about moving. Some of you might be changing how it is that you commute. You could also be considering how your environment really affects your state of mind, right? The clarity is going to come very slowly, but once that Mercury passes through that cazimi, it's going to be go time for you. So there is one more thing though. We have Venus trine Mars, your chart ruler, just before the new moon. So this is a green light in terms of relationships, creativity, and bold self-expression. This could give you the courage to say that thing, to write the thing, to share your truth, right? Something that's been building inside of you. And the more aligned you are with your voice, the more magnetic you're going to become. Now, some practical suggestions for how to use the energy of this new moon if you are an Aries or an Aries rising would be, one, to start some sort of a writing, speaking, journaling habit, right? If it's just having a daily journal every evening before you go to bed of, a couple of things that maybe something you accomplished today, something that you're grateful for, and, I don't know what you're looking forward to tomorrow, something in that habit. Just start a writing habit or a speaking habit. Could be talking to yourself in the morning with affirmations. Some of you could be looking to initiate some kind of a healing conversation with either a sibling or a close friend around this time, and this would definitely be a good time to do that. It would also be a good time to make a mental note or to pay attention to the patterns in your thinking. Where are you feeding fear instead of searching for clarity? Would also be a good time to declutter your communication channels, and that would be all of them. So emails, phone habits, social medias, all the things that you do with your communication device. And then try to set some intentions around being heard, being understood, and aligned in all forms of your self-expression. So this new moon is going to give you a clean slate for how you engage with the world. And Aries, once you change your thoughts, then your life will move to match them. Good luck to you. All right, next up we have Taurus and Taurus rising. Welcome, Taurus. I hope you are doing well. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees on May 26, 2025. You are going to be reclaiming your voice and restructuring your worth for this new moon. Now, the new moon is going to land in your second house. So that's the part of your chart that governs money, values, self-esteem. It's also confidence and the material resources that help you to feel secure. Now, in Gemini, it's not just about what you value. It's about how you think and how you talk about your value. So this moon is going to invite you to give some thought to, what are you worth? Have you ever sat down and thought about that? Have you given that some real thought? And have you been communicating your worth clearly to others, but not just to others, also to yourself, right? Again, what is your worth, and what is your value made of? I would encourage you to give that some thought. Now, Gemini's influence here suggests that your voice is currency, whether you use it in negotiations, on social media, in your business, or maybe just in some quiet space for self-talk. This new moon is going to bring an opportunity for you to start speaking from a place of deeper self-worth. Now, with Mercury in your second house, your voice, your thoughts, and even your choices around money are under review. So you might find yourself reworking a business plan or a budget around this time. Some of you might be thinking differently about how you want to earn your income. Some of you might be questioning what it is that you're doing, and is that actually aligned with your core values? And then, of course, some of you might be realizing that there's a habit of sort of staying comfortable that you enjoy, and that's actually costing you more than you really thought that it was. So this is also about your inner worth, right? It's not just about outward wealth. Now, Pluto is trine both Mercury and the moon at this time. So that gives this lunation some depth here. And It's not like surface level manifestation talk. It's about reclaiming power from old narratives that said that you had to settle, that you had to stay small, that you had to wait for permission of some kind. If you have been doubting your ability to charge what you're worth for a service, to ask for more, in a situation where you believe you deserve it, or to show up in a more confident way, this new moon is going to be your moment where you start to rewire that thinking. What you tell yourself about your value becomes the foundation for how the world responds to you. So make a mental note of that. Commit it to memory, please. Now, as a Taurus rising, the world is really ready to listen to you, right? As soon as you believe it first, and that's the key. Now with Venus in Aries, should we trine Mars in Leo, there's going to be this bold support for making some kind of a move, right? Especially if it benefits your home or your stability or your long-term plans in some way. Now, you might feel this urge to act on something that you've been preparing sort of behind the scenes. That might be investing in yourself in some way. Could look like asserting your value in a relationship or maybe in some sort of workspace. It could also look like maybe making some sort of long overdue purchase or sale of some sort, right? There's heat, but also harmony behind you now. Now in the background, we've got Jupiter square the node. So you might be questioning where your energy and your time are all going, right? And if you've been sort of taking care of others' needs at the expense of your own. There's really nothing wrong with being dependable because, that's definitely what you like to be, is dependable. But if your generosity is really leaving you feeling depleted or undervalued, then it's time to have some real sort of imbalance during this moon, and she's going to be calling that out, right? To take a look at that and to try to figure out how to bring that back into balance, right? It's not about throwing everything out and getting rid of it and throwing it all away. It's about reorganizing your energy and your resources around what you truly value now. Now, some practical intentions that you could look at setting around this new moon would be regarding setting some new income goals. Maybe look at initiating a conversation around money if that's something that's needed for you. Some of you might be redefining your relationship with your self-worth, right? This might be a good time to write a mantra or some sort of statement that reflects your value, right? That you appreciate, that lights you up, that connects with your heart when you read it and when you say it. Would also be a good time to clean up some financial clutter, right? If you have a bunch of subscriptions or contracts or any other sort of outdated commitments, make sure that all of those things that you're paying for are up to date and that you actually still want or need them, right? Clean up those subscriptions. And then I would also take an opportunity to write down what it is that you're ready to receive, because a lot of times we're asking for things or we are trying to, during meditation, get in touch with a frequency of some sort in order to be able to receive. But that's important, right? Is to truly believe that you are worthy of receiving is one of the things that helps you get in touch with that frequency. And so if you're not giving any thought to that, if you're not giving any time to that, maybe that's an area where, you might be willing to see if you have any blocks, right? Are you truly ready to receive the things that you've been asking for? Now, this new moon is definitely not about making noise, right? It's about reclaiming your voice where it matters most. So there's an inner dialogue, there's your financial life, and there's your sense of personal power, and all of those things sort of merge here. Now, Taurus, once you change the story about what you're worth, then everything you attract is going to change too. Good luck to you. For Gemini and Gemini rising, welcome. I hope you are doing well. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees, May 26, 2025. At this new moon, you are becoming the next version of you, right? This new moon is in your sign, Gemini, and it lands in your first house. So it's self-identity, it's body, it's personal presence, and it's fresh starts. This is the kind of lunation that would ask someone, who are you now and who are you becoming? Not in a philosophical way either, right? It's a real, visible, undeniable way. Who are you becoming? You are being rewritten. It's not just in how you think, but in how you move, how you speak, how you present yourself, and also how you take up space. New moons in the first house always invite reinvention in some form or fashion, but with so many planets now in Gemini, including your ruler Mercury, you're not just shifting internally, right? Others are going to notice. Your energy is changing. And this time, you're the one who's writing the new version. So the way that this is going to play out, for some of you, it's going to be the way that you talk about yourself. And maybe you have a habit of underselling yourself or your growth or playing it small in some way, right? And that's going to change. Some of you, it's going to be about the way that you dress, how you walk, and how you move through a room, right? It's about your presence. Is your physical expression matching your inner evolution? For some of you, it's going to be about your confidence and claiming what it is that you really want, not what you should want, right? Because sometimes those things are different, right? The fantasy can be a little more vivid, maybe sometimes, than what we feel, what's the right word? What we feel we should admit. Realizing that you have introduced yourself to the world in one way, and that way really no longer fits who it is that you've become now, is going to be how this plays out for some of you as well. Now, Mercury in your first house is going to be moving toward this cazimi on the 29th of May. So you're heading into this moment of crystal clear clarity. So wait for that, right? Until then, you're probably going to feel a little bit scattered, right? Like your brain's buffering, if you will, right? Don't force anything. Don't try to make sense of things. Trust that your message, your decision, your knowing, if you will, is going to land, and it's going to do that with perfect timing. Now, even better, Pluto is trine Mercury and this new moon. So that's some deep psychological rewiring that's happening, right? It's not just changing your mind, it's changing your mindset. So you might suddenly understand that there's a pattern that's been running sort of in the background, especially around your self-perception and power. If you have been giving too much mental energy to other people's opinions, to imposter syndrome, to outdated stories of some sort, then this is going to be the moon where you say, no, I'm going to choose to let all that go, right? Let it go. And there's something special here too, which is this Venus trine Mars that we have. It's active in this chart, and it's linking your 11th and your 3rd houses. So this is going to light up community, voice, vision, and courage for you. And you might be drawn to maybe want to launch something around this time. You might want to share some idea that you have. You might be thinking about reconnecting with some people who actually see you for who you're becoming, right? This trine is supportive. So it's good for networking, for rebranding, for joining a new circle of some sort, but also for just boldly stating what it is that you want. Now, also in the mix here, we've got Jupiter square the node. So this can stir some pressure to define your next steps, right? Be wanting you to work that out. Should you pursue the dream that excites you, or should you maybe stay in this role that's worked so far and hasn't caused you any major hiccups, right? The comfort zone, right? Do you leap or do you wait for more proof of some sort, right? We're always waiting for that. This square here is trying to say growth is uncomfortable, right? Waiting too long to act is probably costing you more than you think it is. So give that some thought. This is your personal new year. There's a fresh energetic cycle that's starting right now, and it begins with you deciding that you are no longer waiting for permission to be who you already are, right? You are who you are. Now, some practical ways you could use this new moon Gemini energy is one, take a look at maybe if you have some social profiles. Maybe you want to redo those. Maybe you have a website or some sort of a bio at work. Maybe you want to take a look at rewriting that. If you in any way present yourself to the public in some way, it would be a really good time to take a look at repackaging anything like that. Also declutter your closet, right? But also declutter your mindset. And I think sometimes those things go hand in hand. I love to clean out my closet and then be amazed at how there's still so much, but I've gotten rid of so much as well. And I think that going through that process really helps to clear your mental mindset, right? Remove what doesn't fit, right? Because the next everything can't be carried on to the next version. I would also try some mirror work or some affirmations, something that tries to really anchor you into your worth, right? In terms of who you are now, right? Not some sort of potential, but this is who you are now. Ask yourself, how would I show up today if I fully believed that I am who I become, right? Who I thought I should become. And then, of course, set some intentions around who you want to be perceived as, and make some choices that are aligned with that identity. Gemini, this is going to be your moon, right? And this is the time. You're not just trying to gather more ideas. You don't need any more ideas. You're deciding who you are and how you are boldly now ready to let the rest of the world see that. Best of luck to you, Gemini. All right, for Cancer and Cancer rising, welcome. I hope you are doing well. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees on May 26, 2025. You are going to be clearing the noise so that your soul can speak during this new moon. Now, this new moon is going to take place in your 12th house, so it's the most private place in our chart. It's also very spiritual, and it's the introspective part of our chart. This house rules solitude, intuition, subconscious patterns. It's also emotional residue, and it's the things that you've been carrying behind the scenes, right? Something that sometimes you don't even realize you're carrying, but eventually it bubbles up and it's there. So while others might be launching something outward, for you, this new moon is going to be about calling it all inward. And it's going to be a time for you to take a look at that story that's still playing in the background of your mind and make a decision about, is it time to finally let that story go? You might feel a deep pull to rest, to withdraw, to take some kind of a break from all of the external noise around the time of this new moon. Some of you might be examining the thought loops or maybe the self-sabotaging patterns that you have around this new moon. Others of you are going to be looking at trying to create a more spiritual space, and that could be through journaling or meditation. Could also just be through being still, right? Through some sort of ritual maybe. Walking or active meditation is also very popular. In some way, you're going to be gently confronted with where it is that you have been avoiding your truth, and probably doing a really good job at either staying busy or being just too accommodating to everyone in order to help you avoid that truth. Now, with Mercury in your 12th house here, the mind is active, but much of what's happening is very internal. You are processing, you're dreaming, you're sensing, and things are likely to feel hazy or probably confusing. You might have some emotional entanglement around this time. Mercury is moving into this cazimi around the 29th of May with the sun, and that's when your clarity is going to arrive. So you are likely to have a download around that time. It could come through a dream. There could just be a knowing, right? It's the moment where you know this is how you're moving forward. That's the thing that's going to shift everything for you. But for now, just trust in that quiet and allow the quiet to be. Remember, this is also a restful time for you. Your power isn't with having a loud voice during this new moon. Your power is going to come when you are listening to that voice that's inside you that you've been stamping down or tuning out, right? We want you to get in touch with that. Now, even more supportive during this new moon is the trine that Mercury and the moon are making to Pluto. So this is going to give this lunation some emotional weight. You're not just resting, although that's part of what you're doing. You are clearing out something karmic. You're pulling your energy back from an old story, a relationship, some sort of a thought pattern that has lingered in your energetic field for way too long. Well, this is going to be a really profound time to release any kind of guilt or shame or emotional burdens that were never truly yours. So give that some thought. All those things that you carry that sort of turn your stomach or make you sort of feel the pit in the bottom of your stomach. You are not responsible for those things. So if you've been carrying that emotional weight for other people, especially in some sort of silence, right? Like you've had nobody to talk to about those sorts of things. This moon is going to be your invitation to say, that's not mine and I'm going to let it go around this time. And then right in the middle of all of that internal work that you're doing, we have this Jupiter square the node. So that's stirring up some pressure around the acts of service and sacrifice for you. So you are likely to feel torn between your instinct to give, because you got Virgo South Node in your third house, and this growing need that you have to really trust your intuition and to prioritize peace, because North Node is in your ninth house, which is Pisces. So that there's discomfort here, and that discomfort is showing you what needs to change, right? Not what you need to do, but what you need to believe about your role and how your role helps other people in their healing. And there's also a little bit of a blessing here because we have Venus trine Mars. Now, this is going to be activating your 10th and your second houses. So this means that while you are retreating, your clarity about purpose and worth is also increasing. There's this realization that could really influence your next steps in terms of your career or your money or how you earn money or your public role in some way. But let that clarity come after you've allowed that time from rest, right? Because that's 12th house is where the new moon is. We're not trying to rush, right? We want to come to clarity after rest. Now, practical ways that you could use the energy around this new moon would be one, to either begin or deepen some sort of spiritual or journaling practice. You could take a look at possibly cutting some ties to maybe an energetic pattern or some kind of a story that keeps you either looped or locked into some kind of guilt or overthinking obsessively about a certain story. Take a look at removing that from your life and your thought process. Some of you might be allowing yourself to take on some rest without having to justify it in any way, shape, or form, right? Because rest is sacred work, right? You're rejuvenating your body. You're realigning your mind, body, and spirit. And that's important. And I would say listen to your dreams, any intuitive nudges that you have around this time, especially around that May 29th when we have that cazimi, right? And then take a moment to write down an intention around what it is that you choose to no longer carry into this next chapter, right? New moons are always a new chapter. So what are you going to let go? What are you going to set down? Just get it off your back, Cancer. You're the nurturer of the zodiac. So what you want to be thinking about during this new moon is what would happen if you actually turned all of that care inward that you give to other people, right? If you allowed yourself to become the safe space that you have always been for others. This moon is going to guide you into that deeper quiet, and the message that you have been waiting for, it's already on its way, right? So just lean into that. Best of luck to you, Cancer. All right, for the Leo and Leo rising, welcome. I hope you are doing well. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees. This happens on May 26, 2025. For you, this new moon in Gemini has you focused on your future vision with clearer circles. And why do I say that? Well, this new moon is going to be activating your 11th house. And this is the house that governs your friendships, your community, groups, collaborations. It's also your long-term goals. And it's those big dreams that you're working toward in your life. Now, so it's literally like your house of vision. It's not just what you are today, but it's also all the things that you're becoming and the kind of world that you want to create for yourself. Now, this moon is going to be inviting you to look ahead with some fresh eyes and to clear out that mental static that's been clouding up your sense of direction lately. Think about what it is that you really want for your future and who do you want to be standing beside you when you get there. That's what you are setting some intentions around. Now, with so much Gemini energy here in this part of your chart, you Mercury's there as well. So it's your second house ruler, also the ruler of this moon, and you've got Jupiter there. So some of you might find yourself redefining a long-term dream that you've been holding on to. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going away, right? Maybe you're making it bigger, maybe you're tweaking it, maybe you've reached a milestone, but something is moving and being redefined there. Some of you have a message or maybe some kind of idea, some sort of brand that you want to share with the world. And around this time, you're going to be focused on sort of clarifying what that message or that brand or that idea is. Some of you are going to be reconsidering who is actually in your inner circle, right? These are your close friendships, the groups that you hang out with. It's all your networking folk. So you'll be looking at it through a lens of whether or not these relationships are still really reflective of where it is that you want to go, right? Remember, we're thinking future vision for this new moon. All right, so this is especially true now if you have been navigating some shifts or some changes or challenges maybe in your friendships or your close relationship circles, right? With maybe even your online presence, or if you are involved in some groups, maybe with either the particular folks in that group or maybe the audiences that that group reaches to. Gemini energy is very social, yes, but it also thinks really critically. So you might realize that there are some connections around you that no longer feel like they're reciprocal. And again, you're going to be looking at that through a more sort of critical view or lens. Some of you might also be realizing that a community that you were once a part of or heavily involved with, that you relied on, now doesn't quite really feel like it matches your values anymore, right? And that's okay, because this new moon is, well, it's a new moon. So we've just, we're making space for something. We are letting go. And this is allowing you to make space for relationships that now are reflecting who you are becoming, right? Because we can't keep everything. Like I said, if your life is a sack, right? You can't for your entire life be putting things into that sack without sometimes taking some things out of those. And again, it's important to remember that not all relationships are like the major relationships in our life. I often like to say that, many of the relationships or connections that we come across in our life are seasonal, right? They had a purpose. They helped us learn something, maneuver something, manipulate something, manifest something. It's not necessarily a bad thing to be making space in your life via letting go of a relationship. And so I just want to make that clarifying statement. All right. But again, we got a lot of Gemini energy going on here. So your mind is really sharp right now. Mercury's in Gemini, so your ability to network, to speak, to write, to share, all of those things are really amplified at this time. And you really need not worry about rushing or trying to focus or force anything in terms of the clarity that's coming, because that cazimi is happening on the 29th. So it's just a few days after this new moon. And that's really when the insight is going to land for you. So until then, just think of it as collecting data, right? Internally and externally, you are just collecting data. On the 29th, we're going to have that cazimi, and you should get some sort of extra clarity added to your vision there, right? And you're probably not going to have the full blueprint just yet, and that's not the point. But trust that your vision is taking shape, and that is the point. Now, what makes this moon especially powerful is that we have a trine over to Pluto. So both Mercury and the moon are making this positive aspect. So it's giving you the ability to go deeper than usual, right? Your thoughts and your words can carry some weight here. So if for any reason you've had a message that you wanted to share, but you have been second guessing that, or that could be as simple as just a conversation, right? But you've been second guessing whether you want to do that. If you have been, feeling like you really want to stand up for something, but you've been kind of holding back from doing that, this new moon is going to be that time where you decide, I'm reclaiming my power here through my voice, right? And my voice is going to be the thing that leads. Now, what we have happening in the background here is that Jupiter is square the nodes. And this is an aspect that we're probably going to feel for about a week, right? So it's a little bit before the new moon, a little bit after, but it's probably going to bring up some tension for you between what it is that feels really comfortable, right? Because we got the Virgo South Node, that's your second house, and what it is that feels really expansive or inspiring or uncertain, right? So maybe it's a little bit more excitable. That's the Pisces North Node in the 8th. So you have to take, this is the financial axis here. So there may be a need for you to take some sort of financial risk, or you may be thinking about taking some sort of a financial risk around this time. This might be the time when you decide to end a commitment of some sort in this area of your life because that commitment is outdated, it's no longer serving you. It could also be that some of you are just trying to invest time in a dream, but that dream hasn't really proven itself yet. It hasn't, it hasn't worked out, and I know all about it. So, so don't feel bad. You keep working on your dream. Anyway, but Leo, you really were built for leadership, right? That's who you are. And sometimes leadership means that you have to believe in the vision before anyone else can actually see it. And definitely see it clearly. So you do you, right? What you also have working in your favor this new moon is Venus trine Mars. So this is your chart ruler, right? From Aries to Leo. Now, this is kind of like a confidence booster. So you might feel like you have this renewed sort of sense of passion that, that you really want to express, right? So you could feel like you are really clear about what it is that you want to pursue, what you want to go after, what you want to run down. You're I'm on it. I can see it. I can taste it. I can smell it, right? And if you are looking at doing something in terms of creative work, maybe love or some sort of public expression of those, that creative work or that love could be coming out around this time as well. So if there's something that lights you up right around this time, don't talk yourself out of it, because I think that's a habit that you might have, right? If you see fire, it's a sign. So check it out. All right. Practical ways that you could use the energy around this new moon would be, one, set some long-term goals for things that are more aligned with your evolving values, right? And you're going to know what best is happening there. You've got the North and South Node on this second 8th house axis here, so you're giving some thought to that. Maybe think about reconnecting with some people who inspire you or who once inspired you, that maybe you have not spoken to in a long time, or haven't had the opportunity to hang out with, right? Also take a look at what you can just gently release in terms of relationships and people. If you don't have people who drain you, then maybe it's just, because the time isn't genuine anymore, right? And you have other things you want to pursue, and I think that's okay. Revamping your online presence too would be a really good use of this new moon time, right? So if you have any sort of like social media and you're heavily, I know there's lots of them. I couldn't even name them all, but your social identity would be a good thing to sort of revamp or refresh during this time. And also don't forget you are overall making space for new friendships, right? And those are not just, friends to hang out with, although they could be, but also like mentors and allies and, professional networks and things like that. This new moon is going to mark the reset moment for you about how you think about your future, right? And who's walking beside you on the path along to your future. Now, Leo, you're not a trend follower, right? That's not what you do. You are the one who sort of leads the movement for us. So under this new moon, you are going to be at the beginning stages of magnetizing the right people to you and the right vision, so that all the things that match your light. So that's what you're focused on. You're focused on your future and shining your light, and those things are automatically going to come to you. Best of luck to you. All right, next up we have Virgo and Virgo rising. Welcome, Virgo. I hope you are doing well. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Gemini. It's 6 degrees. It happens on May 26th of 2025. You are working on your purpose and your public presence during this new moon. Now, this new moon is going to land in your 10th house. So it's the most visible, it's the most public part of our chart. This house governs your career, your legacy, reputation, authority, and your long-term ambitions. This is where you're seen, right? And it's not just about what you do, although it does include that, but it's about who you are becoming through what you do. This new moon in Gemini is going to have you taking a look at whether or not your current career path reflects your voice, your truth, and your mind, right? Or is it just sort of honed in and focused on the skill set that you have? Because here's the truth. Something in your life you have outgrown. And this lunation is going to be the opportunity that allows you to reclaim your direction in some way. So it's going to ask you to remember that you're not just here to be useful. You're here to lead with clarity, with confidence, with intelligence. And some of the things that are happening around this time are likely to reveal to you that you have a desire to pivot your professional direction in some way. Maybe you are trying to make a decision about what kind of work it is that you no longer really want to have as part of your public space, your career space, in some way. You're no longer willing to do those things. Some of you might just have a need to sort of speak a little more clearly, be a little bit more bold in your leadership role. And then others of you are just going to be redefining what it is that success actually means, what it looks like for you now in terms of all the things that you know about your life. Now, Mercury, your ruling planet, is also in the 10th house. So your thoughts and your voice are really central to this path that you're shaping. And whether you are launching something, maybe you are applying for a new position, maybe you are thinking about updating your branding in some way. This is going to be that new moon that really kind of supports you receiving that clarity, right? You're feeling the itch to kind of step into something that's a little bit more visible. Now, although Mercury is still moving toward that cazimi on the 29th, the insights that you're gathering along the way are kind of guiding you to that level of clarity, right? You don't need to rush. It's coming. The message is going to crystallize and it will reach you. Meanwhile, we've got Pluto trining both Mercury and the moon. So this is going to be offering some substance and some strategy around this new moon, right? It's not really a PR moment, but it's going to be more like a psychological turning point for you. You might finally recognize where something like imposter syndrome has really kind of kept you quiet and from stepping into the light in some way. You might find that there are some old patterns around perfectionism or around approval seeking or people pleasing, if you will. Those things have kind of blocked you from taking your next step. This new moon is going to be your chance where you can speak with some power and some precision around these kinds of things. there's also going to be, the need for you to really believe in the value of your voice and your words, right? The rest of the world wants to know it. You have to believe it though, right? Because that's part of the magic. Now in the backdrop here, we have Jupiter squaring the nodes. And for you, this is likely to bring some tension between things like old communication habits, because you've got South Node in your third house there, and your emerging spiritual and or maybe philosophical growth that's happening with the North Node in your ninth house. This is more like you trusting in the wisdom that you've gained and letting go of feeling like you need to explain it to anyone else or you need to overanalyze it in any way, because you don't, and everyone doesn't need to get it. Whatever it is that you're working on, if it's working for you, you need to believe in it in order to move forward with it. And so do that. And then lastly, I would say we have Venus making a trine to Mars in Leo. And so this is sort of like your inner fire that's quietly building behind the scenes here. And you might feel like you have this strong pull to maybe adjust the power dynamics in a sort of behind the scenes way. Maybe some of you are giving yourself some permission to want more, right? To desire more in some way. Some of you might also be looking at maybe setting some new or firmer boundaries as well. Now, some practical ways that you could use the energy for this new moon would be, one, set some career goals, right? Things that are aligned with your mind, your values, and your voice. This is a new moon in your 10th house, so focus there. If need be, work on your elevator pitch, work on your social, your LinkedIn, all of those career sites that are sort of marketing you, right? Make sure that those things are reflecting the person that you're becoming. It's a really good time to be submitting applications, to work on a proposal, a pitch, to give a presentation of some kind. It's also going to be a really good time for you to just sort of step into and own your expertise, right? So those of you who have been sort of working in your career, in your field for some time, you have built up some expertise, and it's important to sort of step into that light so that you feel ready and that you are sharing what you know in the most probably effective manner, right? That's sort of that magnetism that we were talking about earlier. All right, so it's a mental reset for you, Virgo. It's a full recalibration of how you lead, how you are seen, and what kind of impact you're here to make, right? And not with this, I have to prove myself in any sort of way, right? All you have to do is stand in your truth and let that be enough, and it will. Good luck to you, Virgo. For Libra and Libra rising, welcome Libra. Hope you are doing well. This is going to be your horoscope for the new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees. Happens on May 26th of 2025. For you, this new moon is going to be all about bigger horizons and new beliefs. The moon falls in your 9th house, so the part of your chart that governs higher learning, philosophy, long distance travel. It's also about teaching, publishing, spirituality, and your personal belief system. So it's the house of why you do what you do, right? It's where you're going, and it's what gives your life a sense of meaning. So with the new moon in Gemini, you're going to be invited to sort of rewrite the story of what's possible for you. During this time, you're likely going to be taking a look at whether or not your current vision for your future is still aligned with who it is that you're becoming, right? And why is that? Because you have likely outgrown some beliefs recently. That could have happened quietly, it could have happened loudly, doesn't matter. But those beliefs that you've outgrown haven't really been fully replaced yet. So this lunation then is about opening up your mind, not just to collect information, but to discern what it is that really resonates now after all that you've learned these past few years. So you could feel this energy sort of stirring in you as a desire to study something new, right? Maybe you want to apply to a program or start up a course of some kind, do some sort of further education. Some of you might want to return to teaching or writing in some way. For some of you, it's going to be definitely about questioning those old belief systems or worldviews that likely were passed down to you. And you're going to be thinking about how those things once made you feel very safe, but now your perspective has shifted, right? And again, you are sort of letting go of those things that you feel like you've outgrown, right? In terms of safety for now, for things that are bigger, broader. There's also going to be an inner sort of pull to travel and explore for some of you. You just have this need to kind of break away from the stale routine that you've been sort of entrenched in. And then for others of you, it's going to be this realization that your inner dialogue is the thing that is shaping what you believe and if that is even possible for you. Okay, now you've got Mercury also in Gemini in your 9th house. So your thoughts are especially expansive right now. You might find yourself reading a lot more. You may be partaking in journaling extra if you do that on a regular. You might pick that up if you don't. Some of you are going to be just craving having some really deep conversations, some sit downs about things that help move the needle on either your spirituality in some way or your intellectual life in some way. There's some clarity that you're going to be sort of working to or building up to as we move toward that cazimi on the 29th. So as we move through this moon, probably not going to have that full clarity yet, but you can trust that something real is forming in terms of your awareness now. And one of the things that makes this moon especially powerful is that we have Mercury and the moon both trine to Pluto. So that's a harmonious aspect. And this is a sign then that you are ready to shed that old dogma, to get rid of those old mental constraints, and to start trusting your own truth. You've gained enough life experience now to be able to stand in that and own it. So if you have been feeling like you are stuck between maybe a couple or multiple belief systems, if you are listening to multiple spiritual voices, and some of them may have like competing narratives, right? That's sort of the thing here. This new moon is going to help you like just cut through right through that noise, right? Your future is being rewritten. It's not just about the words that you write down on a page. This is happening from the core of your belief system in terms of what it is that you deserve. You're starting from that place. And now with Jupiter squaring the nodes, you're probably going to feel like you have this pull between the comfort of the South Node, right? Because that's what it always offers us, which is in your 12th house. So staying in your head, overanalyzing, quietly retreating into, perfectionism in some way, versus that North Node in Pisces in your 6th house, which is really asking you to kind of step into some daily routines, some healthy disciplines, some intentional service maybe in some way. You're being nudged to shift from the process of overthinking the dream, if you will, to living the dream, like be in it, be here now. So step into that, with some intention. So around this new moon, you might know what you want, but you can't, maybe you can't really stay consistent about getting there, right? You keep sort of retreating back when it's time to show up. Maybe you don't trust yourself to follow through in some way. So this new moon is going to remind you that the belief, it's not enough, right? You have to believe that, and then you have to be following that up with your routines, with your actions, with this embodied presence that says, this is who I am, right? That give that dream the structure to manifest, right? So even if you're still figuring out what your path is, that's perfectly fine, right? You are caring for your time, for your body, for whatever routines you're setting in terms of workflow so that you can get to this path forward. Now, let's not forget, we also have Venus trine Mars, so another harmonious aspect. So this links your 7th house and your 11th house. This is going to be bringing some fire, but also harmony to your relationships in your community. This could be a creative partner. This could be a friend group that you are aligned with. It could also be someone who just kind of is cheering you on, right? Who's been watching you sort of grow and has been a supporter, right? But you do have new support systems that are beginning to take shape for you. So know that and lean into that. Now, during this new moon, some practical ways that you could use this energy be, one, to study, teach, write something that sparks your future self, that speaks to who you are becoming, right? Because if you are shedding old beliefs and you are looking at adopting new ones based on probably experience and value, right? We're looking to who do we want our future self to be here, right? Let go of the belief systems that feel like they limit your joy and your expression, because that's not what a belief system should do. Take a look at maybe having some opportunity to travel, to maybe engage in some spiritual growth, right? Not as a wish, but as an actual, thing that you're going to do. And then I would also say I know sometimes they feel a little bit quirky. It depends on, how you believe in them. But affirmations are something that I believe in, right? And I think that saying them to yourself in the mirror while you're looking at yourself really kind of hones in on the fact that you believe in that. And when you can feel it honestly in your heart, whatever that is, that you believe in it, you just walk a little bit taller, a little bit prouder, and I think that carries through is what I'm trying to say. So positive affirmations can be anything that would apply to you, but I'm allowed to believe in something new. I'm allowed to take steps to live in that new place as well. Something like that. Whatever you're looking at. So Libra, your voice really matters, but your vision does too. So around this new moon, it's going to be a time to believe in a version of your life that's bigger than what you've settled for, right? Because that's, this is the dream. And this time you're really trying to live the dream, right? I want to live the dream. I want to feel it. I want to have all the senses of it, right? The touch, the taste, the feel, the smell, the look of it, right? Not just have that vision in my mind. We're bringing it into manifestation. Good luck to you, Libra. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, welcome. I hope you are doing well. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees, happening on May 26th of 2025. For you, the new moon is about cutting some emotional cords so that you can reclaim your power. And that is because this new moon in Gemini is going to be activating your 8th house. So it's the deepest, most vulnerable, but also the most transformative part of your chart. Now, the 8th house rules shared resources, emotional entanglements, energetic exchange. It's also about intimacy and power dynamics. So we're not talking about surface level astrology here in this house. No, this lunation is going to be about your relationship with what's hidden, and most importantly, what you're ready to let go of so that you can move forward whole. Give some thought to who or what is in your life that you've been tied to energetically, emotionally, or financially that no longer is aligned with your future. Around the time of this new moon, you could have some stirrings that feel like the urge to untangle from a shared financial situation in some way. So it could be a debt, a loan, an inheritance, shared income of some kind. For some of you, you are going to be reclaiming your personal energy in terms of a relationship that has felt unbalanced for some time. Others of you are going to be trying to understand how your emotional suppression and your silence has really been costing you your peace. And then for many people, there will just be the desire to step into a new kind of intimacy, or maybe a new level of intimacy, and one that's built on trust and not control. With Mercury also in Gemini, your thoughts are also digging really deep, and you might find yourself returning to some old emotional patterns, maybe to some secrets, to some conversations that were left unfinished before. But this time around, you're going to be seeing the truth of these situations with fresh eyes. So what's important to know is that you don't have to have it all figured out right now. Mercury is going to reach that cazimi on the 29th, and that's when a piece of the puzzle could fall into place for you. But you're already really being asked to explore the roots of what it is that you're holding, and whether those roots are feeding your growth or they're draining your life force. So again, take a look at what you're holding, what you already have. And here's where it gets a little bit more powerful, because we have Pluto, which is your modern chart ruler, making trine to both Mercury and the moon. So this is going to give you some clarity, depth, and control. So if you've been avoiding maybe having a hard conversation of some kind, whether that is with someone else or with yourself, you now have that inner strength. You're going to find it to face that thing. And for those of you who have been giving too much of your power away, that could be financially, emotionally, or sexually, this moon is going to mark that turning point for you, right? Where that no longer is happening. So Scorpio, this moon is really handing you the scissors, and also a note that says, hey, cut these energetic cords right here, and let's write a new story about what you will and you will not carry forward. Let's begin that right now. And then in the background, you have Jupiter square to the nodes. And this happens for a few days before the moon and a few days after. So we got about a week of this energy. And it's creating a point of tension for you between your past friendships and or affiliations, because you got that South Node in Virgo, 11th house, and the growth that's happening in your 5th house, where the North Node is in Pisces. And that speaks more to joy, creativity, romance, and of course, authentic self-expression. Now, the pressure comes in here where you might need to stop hiding behind a group or some sort of old identity going forward, right? It's time for you to start claiming what it is that makes you feel truly alive. Whether you have that all figured out logically or not, or whether it's proven yet or not, isn't important. And then finally, we have that Venus-Mars trine. So for you, it's 6th and 10th house here. So this is the lunation, where you're also going to have some activations in terms of new possibilities with work, health, or visibility, right? It's the more you release energetic baggage behind the scenes at this time, the more space you're going to create to step into a more empowered action, especially in how you show up in terms of service or leading others. And some practical ways that you could use the energy of this moon would be, 1, initiate a conversation around topics of money, debt, or shared responsibilities that you need to have. If you've been stewing on that for a while, and if you feel like you got all your thoughts and your bullet points together, this would be a good time to have that conversation. It would be also a good time to create a ritual for release, right? Letting go of some kind of emotional or energetic baggage that you're carrying around. It's also a good time to explore some shadow work, some therapy possibly, some sort of healing practice that helps you to, get in touch with yourself on a deeper level. Do some healing on a deeper level. If need be, this would be also a time to set some boundaries in terms of your intimate relationships, right? Write out what your new terms are for, what you want to bring about in your life, whether that's related to health or some sort of reciprocal exchange within your relationships, love, finances, power, any of those things, any of those 8th house topics. With Scorpio, we're not trying to fear the depth of what's happening this month, right? You don't do that anyways, because you kind of live in the depths of fear. But this new moon is trying to remind you that you weren't really born to carry everything. It's important to let go of what isn't yours. It's important to reclaim what is yours. It's also important to rise lighter but stronger. Good luck to you, Scorpio. All right, for the Sagittarius and Sagittarius risings, welcome. Hope you are doing well. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Gemini at 6 degrees, happening on May 26th of 2025. This new moon for you is going to be defining what you want and who you want that with. This new moon is going to land in your 7th house, so that's the part of your chart that rules over relationships, contracts, partnerships, commitments, and those meaningful one-on-one connections that you have. Doesn't matter whether it's in love, business, collaboration, it's all of those things, and this moon is going to invite you to reset your relational field. I would recommend giving some thought to what kind of partnerships are you really available for now, right? That's the key word, available for. And where are you still negotiating with your own truth just so that you can keep the peace in some way or maybe not rock the boat? That's sort of the full spectrum of what you're looking at during this new moon. Gemini is a very curious energy, but it's not always committed, right? The new moon is going to ask you to think with some clarity about what it is that you're actually building in your relationships, right? Not what's just fun and flirty, but what feels mutual, aligned, and expansive. That's what you're trying to focus on. Now, around the time of this new moon, you might feel this energy come up in the form of possibly a new relationship dynamic. Maybe one that's just starting to form, or maybe an existing relationship that is shifting in some way. Some of you could be having a pivotal conversation with a partner around this time, and that conversation really helps to reframe everything for you. And some of you might have a desire to set some boundaries or possibly put some words or name around the needs that you have more clearly in terms of your relationships. And some of you are going to be realizing that you have been giving a lot more than you've been receiving, or maybe vice versa. Now, Mercury is the ruler of this new moon, also is in your 7th house. So it's highlighting communication, negotiation, and mental patterns that bring you into partnership. So think about, are you in a habit of over-explaining? Do you people please? Do you avoid saying what it is that you really want because you are afraid that that is going to cause a disruption in some way? It's that avoidance that isn't really helping you anymore. And you're likely going to feel that around the time of this new moon. Do not worry. Mercury is going to conjoin the sun in a cazimi on the 29th of May. So that's coming just a couple of days after this new moon. And that's your clarity point. I recommend waiting until then to make any sort of final decisions, especially about things that feel like they're a little bit foggy or cloudy right now. And here's where you're going to get a little bit of weight from Pluto, because Pluto is making, Mercury and the moon are both making trines to Pluto at this time. And so this is going to add a little bit of depth, but also a little bit of truth to the words and the decisions that are being made around this time. So if you are at a point where you are ready to be real with someone, maybe it's time to be real with yourself, then this is going to be the moment when you feel like you're ready to hit that reset button for the foundation of this relationship, right? Relationship with someone else, relationship with yourself. This could also be the sort of clean break from a relationship if that is needed, right? For others, it could be a very powerful new beginning as well, right? It depends on really what you've had going on, what's been building up for you in the recent months. But this moon is going to invite you to speak what's real, right? Don't worry about what words are expected to be heard from you. Let the truth deepen your intimacy. That's what it's supposed to do. It's not meant to destroy it. Now, Jupiter is making a square to the nodes in the background here. So this has about a week probably of energy that we're going to feel a few days before the moon, a few days after. So it's adding a little bit of attention to for you, it's the south node in your career house, 10th house, and the north node in your 4th house, home and family. So you're probably going to feel like you're being torn between trying to maintain this image, role, or professional identity that you've created out in the world, right? Your 10th house, and the need you have to be supported and safe and seen within your personal life. So for you, the question really is, can you let someone get close to you without needing to always be the one who leads, right? Now, also supportive during this new moon is Venus trine Mars. So this is your 5th and your 9th houses connecting here. It's a beautiful alignment for some creativity, for love, for publishing, possibly traveling, maybe having some sort of passionate self-expression, right? If you have been waiting to take a relationship to a next level, this is probably going to be your, your path to go ahead and do that. Or maybe a creative project as well, right? 5th house is romantic, so I say that. Now, some practical ways that you can use this energy for the new moon would be, 1, clarify what kind of partnerships you're available for right now, right? And communicate that. Especially if you are sort of on the dating scene or, in that realm of hanging out. You could also use this energy to release some relational habits that are helping to keep you from being honest or direct in some form or fashion, right? So we're going back to sort of that people pleasing. We're trying to let that go, and we're trying to give our voice meaning. You could also initiate some kind of conversation, some sort of heart-centered dialogue with someone who is important to you around this time, and that would also probably work out very well for you. And it's time for you to just write a new vision, right? A new vision for love, for collaboration, for connection, whatever it is that you are looking for in terms of partnership. It's not always romantic love that we're looking for there. So maybe it's just time to put some pencil to paper there and give that some thought. What are you looking for? So Sagittarius, you're always evolving, right? You don't have to grow alone. You just have to be choosing who it is that you want to grow with, right? Let your voice lead and let your heart decide what's worth staying for. That's what's important around this new moon. Good luck to you.